To die or not to die, that is the question. Or rather, to get rid of the death penalty or not. This debate has gone on in the United States for a long time. The death penalty suggests that for the most severe crimes, the accused can be executed. There are 32 states that still have the death penalty. The death penalty has been around since before 1930. In that time, thousands have been executed. But has justice been served through these executions? I think not. The death penalty has only served to keep violence at its heights. The death penalty, all across America, should be unconstitutional because it is cruel and inhumane. The death penalty has only served to make people's lives miserable. It has made prisoners miserable. There have been several innocent people who have been put on death row. Some, thankfully, have been saved. Since 1973, 146 people have been exonerated or freed from death row in jail. This usually happens when there is more DNA evidence than at the time of the trial to prove the accused's innocence. As Kirk Noble Bloodsworth, a recent exonerated inmate, put it, the death penalty will never work. It will always be possible to execute an innocent person. The death penalty also makes the families of the victims suffer. They wrongly think that they have caught the person who has taken a loved one from them, only to later find out that the real culprit is still at large. The death penalty is simply not a reasonable form of delivering justice because of all the things that can go wrong before the execution is even actually made. Others often say that criminals of heinous crimes deserve a death penalty as a form of revenge from the victims and their families. For example, a law professor, Robert Blecker, writes, if the U.S. Supreme Court wants to promote human dignity, if it really reflects the will of the people and not their leaders, the justices will constitutionally continue the punishment of death, allowing us to denounce our worst predators and at least declare a commitment to, although we rarely deliver, real justice. However, this is a matter of opinion. Blecker uses hypotheticals to try and prove his point, using if-then statements. He also has no facts to prove that the Supreme Court rarely delivers real justice. Real justice does not have a single definition and varies from person to person. In reality, states with the death penalty have more murderous crime rates taking place. For example, California has the death penalty and Massachusetts doesn't, but California has a higher murder rate. In California, for every 1,000 people, 5 murders take place, while in Massachusetts, for every 1,000 people, only 1.8. California also has the most death row inmates. How can the death penalty work if states that support it have more murders happening and those without capital punishment have less murders? With this information, how can we deny that the death penalty does more harm than good? In the Constitution, everybody has the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. The government is violating this life section of this important sentence. Yes, the criminals did the same to others, but 2 wrongs do not make a right. Mohandas Gandhi once said, an eye for an eye leaves the whole world blind. That is precisely what the government is doing with the death penalty, fighting fire with fire and expecting good to come from that. The U.S. also simply does not want to agree with other countries on this matter. Western Europe has abolished the death penalty. Russia commuted the death sentences of all 700 of its condemned prisoners to life, and the UN Commission on Human Rights has called for a moratorium on all executions. The number of countries that have stopped implementing the death penalty have grown to an all-time high of 105. But the U.S., a country which is supposed to set an example for the rest of the world, chooses to continue this diabolical statute. What does that say about us as a nation?